So just got these new Nike Streakflies in the fast pack colorway, I think it is. This releases on Thursday in the UK, so there'll be a link and a description for that when they do go live. I thought I'd quickly give a brief sort of first impressions, as I have ran in these and done some strides. Haven't done a full session yet, so this is definitely just first impressions. And then this week I'm going to do probably 3 or 4 different videos on the Streakfly. That is going to be Streakfly versus the Vaporfly, which is there. Streakfly versus the Takupa 8, which is, I guess, Adidas's staple 5k and 10k racer. Probably the only other 10k and 5k racer on the market what is classed as a super racer. And then also I will be doing a full impression and session in the Streakfly as well as the race, and what I think the best 5k 10k shoe is now you've got the Streakfly, and that'll take into account all brands and not just Nike. So for anyone, first of all, who has tried the Nike Streak in the past and also the Nike Turbo, I'd say they're the two shoes as if you combine them together. So the Pegasus Turbo 2 and the Nike Streak 7, the last one was. If you combine those shoes together, this is basically what you get. Full Zoomx foam, which is very nice, and this foam is actually, I'd say, softer than the Vaporfly, in fact quite considerably softer. It more feels how the Invincible feels. That's Nike's mileage shoe. So this foam, I'd say, is in the middle between the Vaporfly and the Invincible. Obviously it's still Zoomx, it just feels a bit softer than the other Nike racers. It's actually, if anyone's got the Alpha Fly, the heel of the Alpha Fly feels like the full foam on this shoe. On the bottom, very minimal. It has just got some reinforced rubber up here, and then just that's literally just the foam on the back of the shoe. So heel strikers, it's gonna probably wear down quite quickly, but that's not necessarily a bad thing for a racer because it just saves a lot of weight. This is extremely light. Like holding it, I was actually carrying the box on the train, and I kept on thinking I dropped my shoes because the box just felt empty. That's how light they are. Like these are 176 grams or something ridiculous like that. So extremely light. And also very quickly on the colorway, I think it is a very nice colorway, which is nice to see because some of the races recently have been horrendous. So it is quite a good colorway from Nike, especially when this is sort of the debut colorway, because the prototype came out, but that was like very limited numbers, whereas this is like the first mass release of the Streakfly. So first impressions of the laces, first of all. They're different to the Vaporfly and they're different to the Alphafly laces. The Vaporfly and Alphafly laces are ribbed. It prevents them coming undone in races and it provides a bit more grip. These aren't ribbed, so they're straight, but also I've noticed they're actually quite hard to untie, which isn't a bad thing because you want them to stay secure. So these laces do actually stay really secure. I've actually gone for a runner's knot in these just to help with some lockdown around in the heel area, because it is a minimal shoe, there's not much to hug your Achilles. So I've just added that in, but there is, I guess, Nike's staple little bit of foam here. As you can probably see, I'll bring it closer to the camera. So you've got that, which is obviously nice, but other than that, it's sort of very minimal throughout. The upper itself, I'd say, is a bit different to the Vaporfly 2. Quite similar in the sense it has the reinforced bit at the front where it's a bit of a thicker material and a bit, I guess, to stop your toes from poking out or just to keep it a bit more structured. And then the rest of the shoe is this very light atom knit again. It's probably more of a mesh than the Vaporfly, just for some more weight savings. I did notice that it was actually more comfortable than the Vaporfly to have on, and this is probably the comfortablest super shoe I've worn and done strides in. It just feels really natural, which is really nice to see, because normally when you get the carbon plate, which obviously this doesn't have, you sort of get forced a bit and it's very uncomfortable, whereas this is very comfortable. So for anyone, I guess, wanting to double up on sessions and races in this, it'd probably be the perfect shoe for that, especially on the track. You don't have that carbon plate like sort of pushing you in a straight line, so you can bend a bit easier on the bends of the track. Onto the midsole. As I mentioned, it is the softest midsole, and I actually am going to do like a little press test here, so you can sort of see how much that condenses when I push it in, and that's not me pushing hard, so it is extremely soft. And I actually, at first glance or first feel, you can't actually tell where the wedge is. I do believe it's right in the middle, but like when I'm bending, you can sort of feel the tension here. But like if you look at the front, you can basically flex the whole front of the shoe, but then this back bit is a bit more stiff, and that's obviously where the wedge is. And then also you can probably tell it is quite a twisted shoe. That, in fact, I definitely felt the wedge when I did that. So quite a lot of tension still with the wedge, which I think most people were worried about if the wedge would give you the push forward. It's not quite the same as the carbon plate, I have to admit, but it is probably, again, a more natural push forward. And really, when you're running on your toes in a 5k, which I think this is probably the best, like a road mile and a 5k shoe. The 10k, I think that's where the Vaporfly and the Streakfly meet. I assume most people for the 10k would definitely wear the Vaporfly just because of heel striking, but the 5k for efficient runners, this would be probably the best shoe, just because you're going to be landing on your toes and you don't really need the transition of the carbon plate. Outsole, it is nothing. Like I said, the durability of this shoe probably won't be the best, but again, do you really want that in a racer? No, especially for the shorter distances, so I'm more happy with the weight savings. Saying that, I'm not sure if any of you have worn the Pegasus Turbo 2, which I compared the shoe to. The durability of that was poor because there was 2 connecting foams, whereas this, because it's completely a clean foam all the way through with just some reinforced bits here, I think it'll be hard for it to split, which will be quite a bit nicer to keep the foam intact. And because it is so soft, I don't think it's going to like break off as easier, because rather than something like a stone hitting it and causing it to break, it'll just like absorb the stone a bit and then let the stone like a sponge. So you probably won't get as much damage from stones and stuff on the outsole. Other than that, the grip's fine. I haven't had any problems with the grip. I haven't done any wet running in it yet though, so I'll have to probably in my session review. It rains all the time in England, so that'll probably be the case then. So I haven't tested it in the wet, but at the minute there's no problems with grip. So first impressions, how it actually feels. I would say faster than any marathon super shoe. I'd say it's actually probably sprint speed faster than the Takumi Sen 8, the Adidas Takumi Sen 8. This definitely feels a lot more like a road flat racer like we had in previous years, just with the foam and I guess the little wedge. So it basically feels like an upgrade of the racers that we used to have, not a completely different shoe. So I think for a lot of people that'd be music to their ears, because they do feel quite clumpy to race in sometimes, and this, you'll be very agile around corners. So I do think this is where the strength is when you're running very fast. So in training, I think you can honestly get down to 800 pace all the way up to marathon pace in the shoe on the track and on the road. It's so versatile that you'd be comfortable enough to do a long run session in it, and as well as a track speed session, because of this, the no carbon plate, which helps with the stiffness, and also just how soft it is and comfortable. I think the main strength is that 800 meter to 5k pace on the track, maybe even 10k pace. That's I think where it really shines, and on the roads as well. I don't know why I keep on saying the track, but that's what I'm going to use it for the most, track sessions and also shorter road races. Depending on the course, even on a 5k, I might opt for the Vaporfly if it's a straight course, but if it's any bends or turns, I would definitely wear the Streakfly. Who do I think should buy it? If anyone has enjoyed the Streak in the past or the Pegasus Turbo 2, it's more similar to that than the 1, I would get this definitely. It's quite cheap considering the prices of super shoes now, and I would class it as a super shoe, and it looks very nice. You will be able to buy this in the description, and just want to put it out there, I didn't get paid to make this review. I just got sent the shoe. I'm not getting told what to say. No one's going to preview my footage. I'm just giving my honest first impressions, and like I said, many videos to come comparing it to the Vaporfly, the Takumi Sen, and I'll be using footpod data, so really getting like the mechanical analysis of the shoe and how it performs and how efficient it is at paces varying from 800 pace all the way up to, well, probably up to marathon pace. I don't do marathons, but I'll do a rough estimate, and so you can get a gauge of how that pace is for training. All in all, a very, very good shoe. It doesn't disappoint, and it's definitely a shoe that I'll 100% have in my rotation moving forward. I just need to train it a bit more to get a gauge of exactly how to use it, but I am very happy with my first impressions of the shoe.